Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and this is the president of Ripple, Monica Long.
I think that there will be, more influx of institutional interest into the space. BlackRock has been the 800-pound gorilla entering with the Bitcoin ETF, and now with the ETH ETF cleared in the U.S. I think we can expect to see even more institutional interest in the space.
In terms of the ETF approval, it seemed like a sort of a seminal moment, and there was a lot of talk about institutional investment coming into crypto. What exactly are we starting to see here? Are you starting to see some of the more traditional players wanting to enter this market via the ETFs?
I think, yes, absolutely, via the ETFs, as well as through tokenization of real-world assets. So that's something we're seeing from our custody customer base, major banks like SocGen being leaders here, to tokenize different securities assets like bonds and equities.
You mentioned the ETH ETF. How significant do you think that's going to be? Will it be as significant as Bitcoin, given, it is still the second largest, but it is a smaller market cap and perhaps not understood as well by the retail investor base and even the institutional investor base?
I think that the market awareness and education of what's happening in crypto is increasing and expanding. So I think that we can see more stories and narratives around the ecosystem of activity that's being developed on top of Ethereum. So we can wait and see what happens.
Monica, I want to move away from the markets onto Ripple, because you made a big announcement earlier this year around a Ripple stablecoin. Why?
US dollar stablecoins are a major market. So stablecoins overall today are about $160 billion in market cap. You see projections of this market reaching about $3 trillion within the next 4 to 5 years. And I think that's for a few reasons. One is just demand to hold US dollars, easy access to US dollars in various parts of the world. Two, for payments, which has been the core of our business for many years. So the reason we're entering this market is we see demand from our customers, financial institutions of various types, who want to use blockchain for more efficient global payments and want to do it using a US dollar stable. Ripple, we have a 10-plus year legacy of being a very trusted, compliant, secure player in the enterprise space. So I think we're a great candidate to bring a trusted US dollar stable to the market.
There are a lot of people wanting me to ask this question. When are you planning to launch it?
We're working on it right now, and you can expect to see more from us later this year.
So is it likely going to launch this year then?
Likely.
Have you begun buying the assets to back that at the moment as well?
We're working on all of the things you need to do in order to bring a product like this to market. So everything from the banking relationships to the distribution relationships to compliance. That's number one for us, is making sure that we are, abiding by the rules and regs.
That's an interesting thing. I hadn't heard anybody ask these guys, are you buying the assets yet? In other words, are you buying like treasuries, et cetera?
Jurisdiction, have the right licensing.
And just the relationship between the stablecoin and XRP. Obviously, you use XRP in some of your products in terms of the cross-border. If you've got the stablecoin, is there a need for XRP in this mix?
Absolutely. We use a mix of assets to serve our payments customers, so including stable coins as well as XRP. The use case for XRP in particular is as it was envisioned by the original creators of the ledger and of XRP, and that is as a bridge asset for the long tail of currency pairs. And we're talking about tokenization of other types of assets. In the future, when you have new types of assets tokenized on chain, having a really efficient intermediary bridge asset to make any pair liquid is important.
And just
do you remember when Tether came out? All you saw from that time till now, really, except for USDC, but everything was paired with Bitcoin. USDT, Bitcoin, USDT, this, USDT, this. That's what I believe this is. In fact, that's what Greg Kidd said to me. I asked him, I said, is this going to do for, I mean, that's all they've been doing is printing USDT out of thin air and then buying Bitcoin and treasuries and things like that. The writing is completely on the wall on this thing, folks.
Final question, Monica. As we think about the ETF landscape that's happening, we've got a potential approval for Ether. Do you expect any XRP ETFs to pop up?
I think it would make a lot of sense. If you think about it, only XRP and Bitcoin have regulatory clarity on status in the U.S. XRP.
Ooh, she went and said it. This is what we keep saying here.
A top 10 crypto asset by market cap and is about a top 5 if you look at daily traded volume. So I think that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Do you remember when, what was his name? Craig DeWitt that used to do with Ripple? That was his prediction that only Bitcoin and XRP would have regulatory clarity for like a year or two, I think he said. Now, here's the German guy that we love. I met, in fact, he sent his daughter to XRP Las Vegas, and I met him while I was there. And so I'm going to play this video right here. He's talking about the XRP chart.
Wenn man die drei Altcoins sich anschaut, bei XRP sieht deutlich anders aus als Solana und Ethereum. Warum?
Different than Solana and Ethereum.
Ich habe hier XRP ebenfalls in der Monatsdarstellung, aber weiter zusammengezogen von 14 bis heute. Und beim XRP muss man ganz klar sagen, da hat sich seit einem Jahr nichts getan. Von 50 Cent auf 52 US-Cent. Also das ist so viel wie nichts. Deswegen habe ich mal diese Darstellung gewählt, und zwar die Hoffnung der XRP-Besitzer, die sich in folgendem Bild ausdrückt. Und zwar hatten wir seinerzeit 14 bis 17 hier dieses Wedge, das sich zusammengepresst hat. Und wir hatten in einem ersten Ausbruch nach oben, sage und schreibe, 4.300% bis zu diesem Level. Und dann ist es ein bisschen zur Seite gegangen und hat einen weiteren Ausbruch gehabt. Und von hier unten bis hier oben waren das, sage und schreibe, 39.700%.
Das muss die Betrachtung an.
Das sind zwei tolle Zahlen und das ist natürlich das, worauf die XRP-Gemeinde jetzt hofft, weil hier bildet sich ähnlich über Jahre jetzt schon wieder ein solches Wedge aus. Der Druck spitzt sich hier zu und alle hoffen natürlich auf den Ausbruch nach oben. Und es muss ja kein 40x sein wie hier. Mir würde auch schon ein 20x reichen, weil dann ist man irgendwo zwischen 8, 9, 10 US-Dollar und das wäre schon nicht schlecht.
Ja, das
und, das ist etwas, worauf man hoffen kann und warten kann. Und das ist auch etwas, was ich tue.
Das heißt, es kommt wirklich nur auf die Betrachtungsweise an, woraus man die Freude oder die Hoffnung dann schöpft.
Ja gut, man muss ja dazu sagen, Ripple positioniert sich anders als die beiden.
Ja.
Ja, die beiden gehen in die Breite. Wir hatten ja gesagt, 1 Million Coins und Tokens sind emittiert worden seit April auf diesen beiden Blockchains.
Ja.
Das ist ein ganz anderes Klientel. Die wollen sich darstellen als Vollsortimenter für Firmenkunden und institutionelle Kunden. Zentralbanken und Banken haben jetzt Standard Custody übernommen von Polysine, wollen jetzt ein Stablecoin aufsetzen. Also da passiert eine ganze Menge für dieses Klientel. Und ich kann mir gut vorstellen, dass wenn der Rechtsstreit, und ich wiederhole mich da gerne, ausgestanden ist, und alle sich bewegen, dass auch hier zu diesem Ausbruch kommt. Und dieser Ausbruch dürfte dann allerdings im Vergleich zu diesen beiden und hoffentlich natürlich heftiger ausfallen.
All right. So, man, I love that guy, and I think that look, I wouldn't be here if I didn't think, my thinking was not in line with what he's saying here. We know what's going on well, actually, I did a video this morning to summarize it. First, I want to show you Ripple's partnering with Clear Junction to enhance GBP Euro payments for its customers. This collaboration strengthens our cross-border payment solutions, ensuring faster, secure transaction in the UK and EU. And then I wanted to play this again because it's important. It's really important that we reiterate as often as possible. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, let's move on from ETHgate. No, we need to put a spotlight on the people that did this thing. And the reason is so that it'll never happen again. This is pure corruption. This media is corrupt with them. Everybody knows it. This guy right here, let's just play what he said, and I'll translate for you.
SEC versus Ripple Labs.
Ripple. Dave, what do you want to ask?
There you go. I've got the floor. Thanks.
Okay, so he says he looks at Gary Gensler. He says you lost the SEC versus Ripple. You lost that one. Thanks. In other words, you screwed up our racket, and that's why ETHgate, the story must be told, and it's gonna be told, and we'll get to that too. I put this tweet together today. You remember the other day when Brad Garling? There's one thing I always notice things when Brad Garlinghouse keeps saying things over and over. This is one of them. Brad Garlinghouse keeps reminding everybody, don't forget now, before the SEC, before the corrupt SEC came after us, he's not saying that part, I am. Before the SEC came after us to do regulatory capture and stop us so that Bitcoin and Ethereum could go on, that's what really went down. Before the monopoly attempt was started, and they sued Ripple, they did the Hinman speech, then they sued Ripple. That's the reason it occurred, folks. XRP was kicking the crap out of Bitcoin and Ethereum in terms of performance. 2017, look up here. Or look, you'll see it in these clips. This article said, meet Ripple, the currency that's running laps around Bitcoin. This was from 2017. Watch.
I think people also forget that it wasn't that long ago, before the SEC.
That's Ripple above Ethereum when it was beating Ethereum.
Involved, that XRP was the second most valuable digital asset. Now,
look, Ripple soars 56%, this was on a day, becomes second largest cryptocurrency, jumping Ethereum. They were worried it was headed for Bitcoin, which they knew it would jump Bitcoin because it was created to be a better Bitcoin, and everybody knows it.
For the SEC kind of
including the Bitcoin maxis.
Anointed ETH, then they couldn't answer the question as ETH.
35,000, it was between 35 and 37,000% in 2017. 1 year, folks. You see these people putting out all these Bitcoin return charts and all this. XRP would have dwarfed Bitcoin if the SEC, if the government had not colluded with all these bad actors to do this.
Security.
So I was reminding everybody, I took that clip to remind everybody, and I put some of the XRP Unleashed documentary on the end of this to remind everybody that XRP Unleashed is coming. SEC corruption, regulatory capture, government, Wall Street picking winners and losers, an SEC that harms the investors they are supposed to protect, the untold story of the XRP army that rose up to stop government SEC corruption. XRP Unleashed is coming in 2024. And I copied a bunch of people in, including the media. And I want to remind everyone, I'll let it run into the first part. Watch this.
Most valuable digital asset. That was before the SEC kind of anointed ETH. Then they couldn't answer the question, is ETH a security or not? And now they've approved the ETF. They contradict each other. It's very contradict themselves. It's very difficult to follow.
They would have globally dominated the entire industry, but for the regulators pulling them back and Congress kind of not getting with the program.
You know, we absolutely want to see the United States lead in this new arena that we call blockchain and cryptocurrencies.
Hey, look, that's Julia Chatterley from CNN talking to Brad Garlinghouse before ETHgate started being uncovered, and she was told she wasn't allowed to cover it anymore.
And the clarity really emanates from the Securities and Exchange Commission.
It was the darkest day of the year. It was December 21st that Brad Garlinghouse came out and basically informed the world that they were soon going to be sued by the SEC.
The SEC its mandate is to help protect investors.
It got flooded.
All right, anyway, I'm not going to play the whole thing. You get the picture. But I do want to play this because this is Ralston Benham, the chairman of the CFTC, the current chairman, and right here, this clip that he says, and then I'll show you my translation.
You know, as defined by current law, we have commodity tokens, we have security tokens, and what we've experienced at the CFTC now for over a decade is this gap in regulation where we don't have tools to regulate the market. and it's leaving a pretty significant chunk of the market unregulated. So when you look at commodity tokens like Bitcoin and Ether, you're talking about 60% in the entire market cap of the crypto market. And with that in mind, I think we have a serious issue in terms of filling that gap, and this is what this legislation sort of achieves.
Bitcoin and Ethereum, which are inferior technologies to much of crypto, because of what they did, here's my translation: Ripple and the XRP army broke up the SEC Hinman Clayton Gensler Bitcoin Ethereum monopoly attempt, which is exactly what it was. This is why what you see now, look, I'm on board with Ryan Selkis. I'm 1,000% on board with what Ryan Selkis is doing now to fight these corrupt politicians. But Ryan Selkis still will not even mention ETHgate, and there's a reason for that, because it was his buddies that were the ones behind this monopoly attempt. He knows it, I know it, we all know it, okay? But forgive and forget, I'm cool with that. He's fighting the good fight now, but that doesn't mean we forget what was attempted here, folks. It was a Bitcoin, and then let's go back to the piece of you-know-what, Jim Cramer, when he told Gary Gensler, you lost, thanks. My translation is, what he meant was, you screwed up our racket, thanks a lot. We had a monopoly in the making, and you screwed it up, Gary. Well, I wouldn't blame it all on Gary. Gary wasn't equipped. I don't think any of them were equipped to fight Ripple and the XRP army, because they didn't have the truth on their side. That's the reason. When I stood up at the first XRP Las Vegas on stage and I said we're going to win because we're the good guys and we have the truth on our side, that's exactly what I meant. Lies do not stand the test of time. These people just weren't used to anybody fighting them. In fact, the fight that Ripple and the XRP army took to the SEC, I think it's the first, that's the reason a documentary is being made about it. It's the first time in history we literally showed the world how to fight back and kick their butts. That's what was shown. And because we did it, because we had because we had the guts to do it. And I remember those days when we were the only ones doing it. I mean, I remember when it was literally me on the phone with John Deaton. And this is when people were scared to even come in and talk about it. I remember. Okay. See, this is the kind of stuff. And again, I said, look, I'm on Team Selkis now in terms of fighting the good fight. But like this tweet yesterday from him, Bitcoin is the top performing asset of all time across every single conceivable time period. That's only true because of regulatory capture. Bitcoin would have had its butt kicked if XRP had not been held back. He knows it, I know it, you know it, everybody knows it. Bitcoin and Ethereum. It wouldn't be 60% market share for those two. In fact, I believe they're probably in the process of losing them. So Jim Cramer and all of his friends, they had to move on to Solana, and that's what he's really mad about. Gary, you messed it up, man. Now we're having to talk about this Solana that has gone down about 11 times. But I said even worse, through regulatory capture, he's talking about how Gary Gensler fought to prevent a Bitcoin ETF. And I said even worse, through regulatory capture, the SEC under Clayton and Hinman intentionally boxed out everything but Bitcoin and Ethereum since June 2018. See, Ryan Selkis won't talk about this part of things. We won't stop talking about it here. Now, I've got a lot more, but I'm already at 18 minutes. In the rest of what I'm going to show you, one of the main things I'm going to show you is what is the number one lie? What is the number one thing that you are being lied to about by your government from a financial standpoint? What's the number one lie? The number one lie is very clear. And I'm going to show it to you in DAIXRP.com. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family that away we go.